what I'm talking about!
Okay, here we go with a look at a pair of Ruger 1022s, both of them wearing Tapco Intrafuse stocks. This is the Tapco Intrafuse Generation 1 stock. This is the Tapco Intrafuse Tactical Trainer. This is more of their updated second generation stock. In this video, I am going to show you some of the differences between the stocks and kind of go over some of the things that bug me about either stock. Before we get started, let's go ahead and perform a safety check and promote that safe habit. See, there's nothing in the magazine. I can see there's nothing in the chamber. You can see there's nothing in the magazine. And I can see there's nothing in the chamber. We're handling a safe firearm, so let's go ahead and begin. So let's go over some of the similarities. Both of them will accept pretty much any kind of Ruger 1022 receiver, aftermarket or otherwise. I have yet to see a trigger group that does not work in any of the Tapco stocks. I've used a Kid Innovations and Volquartsen trigger group in these stocks and everything seems to work fine. I've not had any trouble with any magazines fitting into these stocks. When it comes to barrels though, that's when I start to have issues with the Tapco Intrafuse. And let me show you what I'm talking about. The Intrafuse Generation 1 here will only accommodate a standard factory tapered barrel. Now, I have done videos in the past where I've shown how you can mill and remove material to get it to accommodate a bull barrel, and that will be a snug fit. I mean, you could sand enough to free float it, but I prefer a snug fit. I don't really like free floating anything. That's just not how I like to run my rifles. But with this stock here, this is a current manufacturer, and it's got just a tiny bit of movement with the barrel within the receiver. Excuse me, the barreled receiver within the stock. It's not much. It's not much at all. I don't think it's going to hinder the performance of the rifle in any way. It's not as snug and tight as I like, but it's probably alright. Now, they like to say that you can free float your standard factory tapered barrel in the tactical trainer stock. And my goodness, that's not, I don't believe that to be possible. You can see with this stock here, I have a standard factory tapered barrel, and there's a lot of daylight in that barrel channel. My takedown screw is snugged up nice, and you can see how much movement I've got just in this thing wiggling around. I don't have to put a lot of effort into getting it to move around. It just doesn't draw up very well. I could shim this down here, put a couple washers in there to try and pull that down, but the further I pull this barrel receiver down, the more I completely disable the idea that I can use my factory iron sights, which you can use the factory iron sights with the Intrafuse and with the tactical trainer. They cut this little groove through your Picatinny rail to allow you access to see your front sight and rear sight and align that properly. But you would have to figure something out to kind of like fix this barrel into place. Now, a couple videos ago, I showed how an HTA barrel channel adapter could be fit to this barrel. Get a little bit of tape around the outside, making contact with the spacer here and not with the barrel, and then that would fix your 1022 barreled receiver into the tactical trainer. But that's not where the problem ends. If you have a .920 bull barrel, you still have movement of that barrel in this channel. This channel is just shy of an inch, and the .920 bull barrel is about 7/8 of an inch. So you've got about a 1/16 of an inch all the way around of daylight in your barrel channel, and unless you're willing to run a factory tapered barrel and you're willing to get an adapter that will fill in the extra space of that barrel channel and snug this down, I have a real issue with the fact that I can move this barreled receiver so much within this stock. So I feel like that's a huge drawback for this stock. I like the fact that it comes with Picatinny Rails, and it's lighter weight with a lot of this material skeletonized and removed. But I mean, like, at the end of the day, I prefer the Generation 1, and if you've got to have some kind of rails to put on the side, that's pretty easy to mount on the side. I like how narrow this forend is, and they kind of beefed that up here too. You can see the dimension difference between the two. The Gen 1 is a lot thinner, the Gen 2 is a lot thicker in hand. So, I mean, that's just purely preference. They both come with a straight tube, like you see here, and an angled tube, like you see on this one. This is their current manufacturer, the mil-spec tube. This is their previous original manufacturer, and that is a commercial. I kind of like the commercial better than the mil-spec. It's a little beefier, a little thicker. But if you want to run your iron sights as you slide your stock and increase that length of pull, you're increasing that elevation. You almost have to have your stock extended this far to elevate your sights to line up with your eye so you can see down them properly. So if you're looking for a stock that can accommodate your original factory tapered barreled sights, this can do it, but my experience is if you want to run it that way, you're probably going to have to run it at its longest length of pull. And that's one of the nice things about the Tapco Intrafuse is you've got that length of pull change if you want to run it more compact. If you're wearing body armor or load-bearing vests and whatnot, you can adjust. If you've got a shorter, younger shooter, then you can adjust. But when you're wanting to use the factory iron sights, it seems like I'm locked into that longest length of pull, and I don't have the option to run it shorter. And I like to run my length of pull short. That's about where I'll run it, maybe even one click in. From there, I like to run a compact rifle as much as I can, and it just eliminates that possibility for me and my experience lining up my eye with the factory iron sights if I've got the angled tube at this length of pull. So I guess at this point, my only recommendation would be to say that I recommend the Generation 1 over the Generation 2. And if you want to run the Generation 2 because you like the look of the skeletonization, you like the lightweightness of it, you like that it comes with Picatinny Rails, just be aware you're going to have to figure something out for the barrel in the barrel channel to keep it more secure. And for me, that's kind of a deal-breaking letdown. Alright, well, there's a video of me rambling on about the comparisons between the Tapco Generation 1 Intrafuse and the Tapco Intrafuse Tactical Trainer, and some of the beefs that I have with them. It's a big world out there, and we're bound to run into a shady situation. Until then, keep your gear on you.
I'm really, really sorry. I apologize unreservedly. I offer a complete and utter retraction. The imputation was totally without basis in fact and was in no way fair comment and was motivated purely by malice. And I deeply regret any distress that my comments may have caused you or your family, and I hereby undertake not to repeat any such slander at any time in the future.